Sophie, thank you. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. Calls for a change in the way anorexia is diagnosed after an 18-year-old gymnast received no help until she was in hospital.
All the way through I've been told your BMI is not low, so you don't need the immediate help yet.
We'll ask an eating disorder specialist why body mass index shouldn't be used in either diagnosis or treatment. Also tonight, how this weapon was found strapped to a young person's body in Leeds as communities launch a campaign to get knives off the street. It's International Guide Dogs Day, so we're meeting Lindsay and Iris to highlight calls for more volunteers to provide temporary homes for trainee dogs. And staying with animals, we've been to Grassington, where filming is underway for the next series of All Creatures, Great and Small.
Well, despite the cloudy skies, there was a little bit of colour there in Silkstone in South Yorkshire. What about the forecast for the next few days, including the bank holiday weekend? Join me for that, coming up shortly.
Hello, thank you for your company this evening. An 18-year-old gymnast from Eckington in Derbyshire has launched a petition calling for your body mass index, or BMI rate, not to be a consideration when helping someone with an eating disorder. Now, Grace Wood felt her anorexia wasn't taken seriously until she ended up in hospital. And now Grace can barely walk due to the stress on her heart. She and her family are campaigning for a review in the way that BMI is used in diagnosis and in treating eating disorders. Corinne Wheatley has been to meet her.
So this is a bit of motivation through recovery. Sort of every time I'm going against the eating disorder voice, having a little win, big win, I put a bead in there, and whenever it reaches that line, I'll get a reward. So
every day, Grace takes another step towards recovery from the eating disorder that took control of her life.
I used to be a gymnast, and I sort of always felt the bulky one in the group. I had to do a lot of weight training, so I built up quite a bit of muscle mass. Sort of started off as calorie counting, exercising a lot, but in a way where I'd been told, oh, you can lose muscle by doing this sort of excessive cardio.
Grace, you reached out for help. What happened?
We went to the doctors in November. Sort of my BMI was checked. I mean, at this point I'd lost my period, I was losing hair, and I had lost quite a bit of weight, but I was losing weight quite rapidly, and told all this to the doctors, and my BMI was checked. It was obviously rated as healthy.
While Grace was told several times that her BMI was healthy, effectively too high to receive immediate help, her heart rate was dropping lower and lower. At one stage in hospital, it was as low as 27 beats per minute. She was warned she could need a pacemaker.
I mean, because of the strain that was put on my heart, sort of with the low heart rate, I'm not allowed to walk around the block even.
The government told us that guidelines are clear, that people should not be rejected solely on the grounds of weight or body mass index. But following her experience, Grace has started a petition calling for a review of the use of BMI in diagnosing and treating eating disorders.
It's affected everything from beginning to end of me trying to get the help. Sort of all the way through I've been told your BMI is not low, so you don't need the immediate help yet. And I think if it hadn't been used, I would have got the help so much earlier. And if you're told that your BMI is healthy, just ask for extra help, ask for extra support, and ask for that not to be taken into account.
Anorexia forced Grace to drop out of university, but she plans to return soon. She's sharing her campaign and recovery online in the hope it will help other sufferers get the support they need. Corinne Wheatley, BBC Look North, Eckington.
Thank you to Grace for sharing her story, because I have no doubt it will help many people out there. Earlier I spoke to Beth Gipton. She's a specialist eating disorder dietitian from the West Yorkshire Adults Eating Disorder Service. I asked her to explain what body mass index is and how it's used.
So BMI is weight in kilograms divided by height squared. And it's a calculation that's used to give a rough idea of where people might sit in a certain weight category. Unfortunately, though, it's quite a crude measure, and in eating disorders especially, it's a really difficult one because it doesn't give us an idea of fat to muscle ratio, and it also doesn't really tell us much about body composition.
And in Grace's case, she's a gymnast with a lot of muscle mass. Her eating disorder was missed. What other signs should doctors have been looking for?
So we need to be looking at other clinical risk markers, so other eating disorder behaviours, the severity of dietary restriction, purging, over-exercising. We also need to look at parameters like bloods, ECG, and get an idea of percentage weight loss as well.
It also really triggering for someone like Grace, because she was so desperate when she was told her BMI wasn't low enough, that it actually prompted her to try and lose even more weight. Surely more should have been done to help her. Even the NICE guidelines say that BMI shouldn't be used as a sole factor.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example of where she's been failed, because somebody's looked at the BMI, you know, in isolation, and that's ruled out that opportunity for her to be seen when the clinical risk was actually incredibly high in that case. So I think in Grace's case, it would have been more helpful to look at the bigger picture. And I guess in the COVID pandemic, where people weren't able to see people face to face as easily, then the screening was done very quickly like that. And I think in limitations of NHS resources, unfortunately, we do have to use BMI as a bit of a crude measurement to help screen.
Very briefly, what sort of support is available for people out there who are really struggling?
I think if people don't meet criteria for services, it's an awful message, as you mentioned. It sort of gives that invalidation that maybe people need to lose weight to access services. We do offer an open access pathway in our service, which allows people to follow our Instagram page, where there's access to support from mental health and eating disorder specialist practitioners, and we have a weekly support group called The Hub as well.
Beth, thank you for your time. If you or someone you know has been affected by the issues raised in tonight's report, you can contact the BBC Action Line via bbc.co.uk/action line for details of organisations which offer advice and support. Knife bins have been installed in parts of Leeds following a number of stabbings across the city centre in the past few months. Now, they've been set outside the Prince Philip Centre in Chapeltown and the Bilal Centre in Hare Hills after fundraising by local churches. Meanwhile, West Yorkshire Police has told Look North it's doing all it can to stop young people being exploited and carrying weapons. Here's our social affairs correspondent, Emma Glasby.
It's a weapon that's designed to cause fear and serious harm. This has been confiscated from a young person in Leeds after a worried parent called a local community leader for help.
We realised that the young person had it taped across their chest. The young person then just opened their jacket and said, "It's here," and just gave it to us.
Lutel is determined to get these weapons off the streets of Leeds, but it is an ongoing battle.
We're making a big thing about the young people, but what about all the retailers that are selling these dangerous weapons, that are making these easy, accessible and available, and they're killing our kids? So for me, who's going to hold them accountable?
In recent weeks, several teenagers have been injured in violence in Chapeltown and Hare Hills. In Armley, 2 teenagers were stabbed to death last month. West Yorkshire Police has used extra stop and search powers after some of the most serious attacks.
We are seeing 15-year-olds involved in some of these attacks. What is going wrong that 15-year-olds are carrying knives?
Yeah, it's scary. It is scary. And again, I'd be naive to say, well, that's not happening, because it is happening. And we see it time and time again, where children and young people are being attacked and doing the attacking. And it all comes down to they feel it's necessary to carry a knife for their self-protection. It's because they're being exploited by someone who's trying to make money through Class A drug trade. Those are the people that we need to be tackling. Those are the people that we are tackling.
Communities are also doing what they can. This knife bin has been installed at the Prince Philip Centre in Chapeltown. Another has been installed at the Bilal Centre in Hare Hills after fundraising by local churches and local people.
There is an absolute massive concern with especially parents whose children have been affected by this scourge of a knife crime. And I say this is the church's response. It might be a small thing, but it's a step in the right direction.
Right now, really dangerous, full stop. There's people being murdered let's not butter it up to be anything else. But the fact is, there's a lot of young people who don't get involved in anything that are absolutely scared. And we've got to make everybody feel safe across the communities. So having a knife bin in itself gives them the option to say, well, actually, if I know and I'm aware of, and I can make the difference by putting one knife in there that saves someone's life, then it's worth having the knife bin all day long.
No one's shying away from the fact it's been a difficult time in Leeds. They just want to do something to make their city feel safer. Emma Glasby, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Let's hope it makes a difference. You're watching Wednesday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. We're live at Bramall Lane as Sheffield United...
Yes, Sheffield United will gain promotion to the Premier League if they can beat West Brom here at Bramall Lane.
You got it twice there. We're live at Bramall Lane later in case you missed it. Next tonight, horse owners are being advised to check grazing land for sycamore seedlings, which can cause a potentially fatal condition. Now, the seeds, you might know them as helicopters. They contain a deadly toxin which can lead to severe illness and even death within 24 hours if they're eaten. Vets say there's been an increase in cases due to the greater number of seeds falling and germinating. We're going to hear now from Phil Bodmer. He's been to meet one vet in North Yorkshire who recently lost one of his horses.
Sadly, he ate these saplings, these sycamore saplings, unbeknown to us, and developed atypical myopathy, the poison that comes from that, and we had to put him to sleep as a result of his illness.
They're one of our most familiar woodland species. The sycamore provides a vital source of food and shelter for a host of insects and birds. For other animals, the seedlings it produces, if ingested, can be very dangerous, and this year as a bumper crop.
So John, we can see quite a lot of seedlings in this area here.
Yes, absolutely, millions of them. Look at them, all of this lot. These are all sycamore seedlings, and they've just germinated in enormous numbers.
So why so many sycamore seedlings?
It was a mild spring, the flowers set seed, and then it was a warm summer, so they ripened well, so there was a lot of seed, a mast year as we call it in trees, and then tree seed needs a chilling period to germinate.
The seeds can travel miles on the breeze, far from a tree. Following his own personal loss, Phil is now urging other owners to check their grazing land.
So if you have got sycamore around, you want to be aware of it. The horses get very weak, they become unable to stand, and eventually the toxin overpowers them, they find it hard to breathe, and their heart finds it harder, etc.
The Royal Veterinary College says sycamore seedlings contain more toxin than the seeds or leaves, so horse owners should be especially careful and remove them from contaminated pastures. It seems there was mass production of seeds last autumn, which likely relates to a long, dry summer. With the recent improvement in weather, this has meant many seedlings have germinated at the same time. Phil has moved his horses to fresh pasture. By telling the story, he wants others to avoid the pain of losing a much-loved member of the family. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North, Thirsk.
Just a bit of other news to tell you about tonight. Money launderers from North Yorkshire who helped smuggle more than £104 million out of the UK have been found guilty. 11 people have been convicted in total, including Jonathan Johnson and Joe Emma Larvin, who are both from Ripon. Now, they were paid to take up to 8 suitcases full of cash, thought to be linked to drug dealing in Dubai in 2020. The money would be sprayed with coffee or air fresheners in an attempt to bypass Border Force detection dogs. Sport now, and it doesn't get much bigger for Sheffield United than tonight. The Blades are just one win away from promotion to the Premier League. Mark Ansell is there for us. I know you're desperate to get a word in, Mark. What's it looking like ahead of the big match?
Well, pure excitement, Amy. I mean, the last game they were playing at Wembley, now one win away from the Premier League. It doesn't get much better for Sheffield United fans, but it is not going to be easy because they're up against West Brom, and they are also gunning for promotion. If West Brom win tonight, they'll be in the playoff places. So it's going to be an exciting and tight affair, I predict. But manager Paul Heckingbottom is calling on Blades fans to play their part.
If we do achieve what we want to achieve, things are going to get even tougher, so the fans become even more important. So, yeah, I think celebrations are important, to celebrate victories. To that's what we play for. And like I said, we're under no illusions how tough everyone is and has been this season. But if we can achieve that ultimate goal, what we set out to, I just think it'd be really special if everyone's together, fans as well.
Well, joining me now is Carlos Saba, the former Sheffield United striker and co-commentator on BBC Radio Sheffield Tonight. Carl, I'm going to put you on the spot straight away. Are Sheffield United going to win tonight at Bramall Lane and gain promotion to the Premier League?
Well, I sincerely hope so. If they play the way they have the majority of the season, they've got a really good chance. But they're up against tough opposition, so it's nothing. It's not a given.
Do you think it will help at all that West Brom will also be trying to win the match tonight, not just sitting back and accepting a draw, because they need a win too?
Yeah, most definitely. I think we found it most difficult when teams have parked the bus, when they've shut up shop and made us really work round them. But as you say, West Brom have got to come and play, and they need the 3 points. So when we're playing against people who are coming as us, invariably our players are technically better and they're more dynamic and they've got more skills and everything. So I'm expecting them to come out on top today.
Sheffield United are so close to promotion. They've got 4 matches that they can gain this promotion to the top flight. Why have they been successful, or so successful this year?
It's been a squad unit. They've had no one standout player who scored 40 goals. Everyone's chipped in, and there's been lots of injuries, and the boys who've come in have played equally well. The manager's got the best out of them, and they all seem to be so united.
Good stuff, Carl. Thank you very much indeed. And you can hear them on Radio Sheffield. They've got full match commentary tonight. If Sheffield United don't win tonight, and I really hope they do and everyone here does, they will be back here against Preston North End on Saturday, and they'll have another go at gaining promotion to the top flight. It's going to be an exciting match, and there'll be plenty more on the late bulletin at 10:30.
Now, we don't need any excuse to feature a dog on this programme, as I'm sure you've noticed over the years, and today is no exception. Let me introduce you to beautiful Iris. She's sat here so lovely and quiet. She's been there a while. She looks very relaxed, so well behaved. Now, she's a guide dog, and she's here as part of International Guide Dogs Day, but also to highlight a need for people to give temporary homes to trainee dogs. Lindsay is here also. She is Iris's mom. Lovely to meet you, Lindsay, and Iris as well. Now, you lost your sight, Lindsay, didn't you, when you were 28? And it wasn't until 12 years later that you got a guide dog. Why did you decide to do that?
I just realised that I needed help. I was getting to the point that I couldn't leave the house on my own anymore. And I was matched to Charlotte, my first guide dog, on Valentine's Day 2014. And sadly, I lost Charlotte quite young to cancer. And Iris came along last year, and she's just given me my life back.
And tell me, obviously you had Charlotte for 6 years, didn't you?
Yeah.
How did she change your life?
She just gave me my spark back, because when part of my eyes started to die, part of me died inside. And with a guide dog by my side, with Charlotte and Iris, I could just walk into a room. I've always loved singing. I'm a singer, and both Charlotte and Iris give me the confidence to go out and sing and just live the life that I want to live.
And you were telling me as well that you and Iris really like shopping, which is something that your husband hates.
Well, he comes on to carry the bags, obviously, but guide dogs do such an amazing job of matching the guide dog to a person's lifestyle like myself. So not every guide dog will like doing the same things, but Iris is a professional dog that likes to do lunch and shopping. She loves being around people. She's amazing.
Well, she certainly is, and she's just so calm, isn't she? Now, Lindsay, there is an appeal for more people to come forward and look after guide dogs. Tell me, what does that actually entail? Sounds like a big job.
It's not at all. Guide dogs are so grateful for all the amazing volunteers that help with the charity. And when a guide dog is about a year old, they go off to big school. And we're desperately short as a charity, Guide Dogs as a charity, for volunteer dog fosterers. And they will look after the dogs whilst the dogs are in advanced training. So the dogs will go off to the training centre on a morning, and then you'll pick them back up on an evening. So it's ideal for people that really love dogs but don't have the time due to work commitments. And guide dogs will support you with the cost of the dogs, and they're always on hand to help with any questions around the dogs. And it's just a lovely thing to do because you can have a dog without the cost.
The cost and the time
Absolutely.
as well. That sounds like the perfect job for me, Lindsay. Sign me
You
up.
should do it, yeah.
I'm sure there's lots of people watching actually who this will really appeal to, because I think from the face of it, it sounds like it's a really committed role to take on. It's just giving them back I think I'd struggle with.
Well, then they know that they go on to change somebody's life like myself.
Absolutely, and it's made such a change to your life, hasn't it? Lindsay, thank you so much for coming in, and of course you, Iris, as well. Now, last week, you may remember, York became the backdrop to the new series of The Crown, and now the market town of Grassington has been transported back to the 1940s for the filming of All Creatures Great and Small. The Channel 5 reboot was adapted from the James Herriot's much-loved stories about life as a vet in the Yorkshire Dales. Nicola Rees has been along to watch the action and meet some of the Herriot superfans.
Cheese. That's a good one.
Well, it's not every day a film crew comes to town. Then again, this isn't the first time Grassington has been transformed into the fictional market town of Darrowby. It can only mean one thing. All Creatures Great and Small is back for a new series.
I watch it all the time, over and over again. And then that's me there with James.
Mandy from Leeds is what you might call a Herriot superfan. Where the cameras go, she goes.
I got the signatures. Seafridge, he just signed his name and then he said to me, "Do you watch the show?" I said, "Watch it. I am a superfan."
The Channel 5 reboot follows the adventures of a Yorkshire vet in the 1930s and 40s.
Gentlemen, I'm sure you're aware of the growing tensions in Europe.
The last series saw the start of the Second World War and the marriage of James Herriot to Helen. The period transformations are impressive. Don't be fooled by the bakery, though. It's business as usual for the gift shop inside. And right on the edge of the market square, here's a place you'll recognise, Skeldale House. It's where, of course, James Herriot lives and works. But what you might not know is it's the actual real-life home of Paul. Paul, you've got a front row seat on these rehearsals every day.
Certainly have, yeah. I watched it, been watching them building the set all last week and transforming Grassington back into the 1940s.
And just tell us about that, because all of this is fiberglass.
That's not real. The columns are fiberglass and the railings are actually wood. But yes, they've transformed it all.
We're enjoying watching the extras and all the equipment.
Just going to stay and watch the filming, and then we're back tomorrow as well, so we just come as often as we can to see filming and just enjoy it.
And the crowds keep coming to Grassington even after the cameras leave.
On the whole, All Creatures has been a massive bonus to the whole village and to the surrounding area as well. It's really helped internationally to put the Dales on the map.
Mark.
Filming's expected to continue through the summer, with Series 4 coming in September. Look out for those glorious Yorkshire locations. Nicola Rees, BBC Look North, Grassington.
Oh, it does look so gorgeous there, doesn't it, Grassington? I tell you what, we've had all sorts filmed here, haven't we, the last 12 months? Forget Hollywood. What about Yorkshire Wood, Paul? Would that work?
Well, that's a good idea, yeah, but Grassington, what a fantastic spot. They'll have a lovely day filming tomorrow up there in Upper Wharfdale. Let me show you a couple of pictures that you've sent in very briefly. That's been sent in by Paul on the outskirts of Rotherham. And the next picture, I think, was taken at Stanage Edge at sunset last night by Simon. What a glorious picture. Can you believe it? Me, Harry and Amy pushed a sofa over there a few years back. It seems a long time ago, doesn't it? Keep the pictures coming in, Twitter, Instagram and on the Weather Watcher website. So tomorrow, as I say, not a bad morning with some sunshine. There will be some rain later into West and South Yorkshire, mid to late afternoon, not reaching much of North Yorkshire until tomorrow evening. And then a wet night to come Thursday night. Friday morning's grey and damp. It improves Friday afternoon and Friday evening. Then the bank holiday weekend, it's a little bit mixed, warmer with some sunshine, but a risk of showers could well be fairly heavy as we head through Sunday. Next week, it does finally settle down. Now, you can see the extent of the cloud. There was a lot of it for a time, but it's now breaking up. So we'll see a little bit of sunshine through this evening. Any isolated showers will die away, and then overnight it looks fairly quiet, dry with broken cloud, a widespread ground frost once more in countryside areas down to around about 0 to +2. So tomorrow's high water times in Whitby at 9:27, Filey at 9:51. So it's a dry and bright morning, variable cloud, but there will be more blue sky around compared with today with some sunshine. There's that cloud increasing from the southwest, a cloudy afternoon, rain heading up from the southwest later, top temperatures a little warmer, 13 or 14, and that's the forecast.
I remember that well. There was snow actually when we were pushing that sofa. Goodness me, and here I am worried about a small marathon. That's it from us. We're back at 10:30. Bye-bye.